Unless you've been living under a rock for the last week, you would have noticed that HBO's The Last of Us has hit the world by storm with almost perfect scores across the board and praise beyond imagination for its TV show adaptation of the critically acclaimed PlayStation game that we can expect a remake of at least every 3 years from now on.
Money, 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 money.
But with this success brings the question, is this the turn in game to TV movies we've all been waiting for? Or is it a fluke? From where I stand, I see this as the turn we've been waiting for. Long gone are the script burners that shit on source material in exchange for something new, but only within Sony's domain. As we all know, Sony is hitting hard with these adaptations of their most recognisable franchises, recently with Uncharted, which in no way is as on paper as its games, but it still holds true enough to represent itself correctly, unlike Master Chief taking off his helmet in the show. Like, what the fuck are you doing 343?
On my knees.
And now with The Last of Us, I believe that this is a trend within Sony's division that we should expect moving forward with Horizon and God of War, simply because it's good business. The stories within these games are what makes Sony's games so gripping and enticing. If they represent the games in a true enough fashion within their TV and film adaptations, not only will you have a successful show or film, but you entice newcomers to fork out on a shiny new PS5 to play the game of which they've just watched. It's a new way to drive hardware sales directly through a new medium that reaches a far wider audience than the gaming market does, and at a much wider demographic. You can start to see the early signs of this merger of media on the PS5 itself. Ads for HBO's The Last of Us with 2 buttons on the screen. One to watch the show, and one to conveniently play the game. And we've also had the announcement of a 2-hour-long demo of The Last of Us Part 1 being added to PS Plus Premium. Now, of course, this could just be looked at as simply trying to capitalise on the hype around the show, but I think that was preordained and built within the show from the start. That is why, at least from Sony's position, I think this is a new way forward, and I'm totally on board with this move.
See, but I have to come in and call bullshit. First, the marketing narrative of the video game curse is wholly untrue at this point in time. Did Castlevania or Arcane not happen? I know it was a whole year ago, but did Cyberpunk Edge Runners exist? So for starters, I'd like to debunk the whole narrative and put it into a framing that actually makes sense if you aren't a journalist who doesn't play video games and therefore doesn't keep up with what has come out, therefore marking Last of Us as an exception to be touted. What this narrative is actually asking is, does this mean everything will be good from now on? No. History is doomed to repeat itself.
You're all going to die down here.
Last of Us so far deserves all the praise that it's getting and has earned the right to be trusted after 1 episode. But
let's not stand on ceremony here.
This is a case where we would hope that this is the new status quo. We would hope that the bigwigs who understand only the money would take this as a path forward. But the simple truth of the matter is that, like always, more good things will come. But so will the bad. You can argue that it set a new bar for sure, but the coming of a renaissance? No. Let's look at Marvel as a best case scenario as a blueprint for all properties of anything going forward. People like to look at the first 10 years, culminating in Endgame as the pinnacle. But I would remind everyone that every movie did not do well, nor did it lead to an industry standard. The likes of Endgame didn't make it so Venom 1 and 2 or Bloodshot didn't happen. I know the first thing that someone will say is, that's a different medium. Comics and games aren't the same. To that person, I would say, oh, but they are. They are both creatively endeavored IPs whose fan bases and pre-written yet sometimes ignored stories and lore, looking at you, Witcher, make it a target for studios who inspire the IPs to branch into a medium that isn't its own. This leaves fans with the hope that it will be done justice. But just like a poorly or well done anything, each attempt is going to have to be judged on its own merit, as nothing is set in stone and the minds behind the production will ultimately determine its quality. The love of the source material and its translation to TV, film, animation will always be a crapshoot. As far as the Horizon Zero Dawn and God of War shows, I am cautiously optimistic because they are by nature harder to pull off than zombies. Much harder. Temper your expectations. On a final note, regarding Sony's decisions, I would have never thought Neil Blomkamp of District 9 fame would be chosen to direct a Gran Turismo movie with properties like Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, or Killzone on the table. And we all remember his short film for Halo, which is still better than the show, but that's for another video.
I see your point. Expectations should be set, you are definitely right there. But I personally think that Sony as a game developer rarely misses, and I honestly think that that can be replicated in their TV and movies too.
Really? What about...
Look, New York! Spider-Man is back!
Oh my god! Wow!
Oh my god, your hope is so big right now.
You make a valid argument, although those films are not a direct influence based on the game IPs, but history does point to Sony making some very poor choices when it comes to the direction of their films, a point of which we'll now have to discuss on a future episode of Night at the Talkies. But what do you think? Do you like The Last of Us TV show? Are you hyped for what's coming next? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to be notified of more discussions just like this one.